This match comes to you on Thursday, September 15th between the visiting Blue Devils of Mount Lebanon and the homestanding Panthers of Upper St. Clair. Upper St. Clair enters the match with a record of 1-1, having beaten Gateway here last Thursday and having lost 3 games to 1 to Baldwin just this past Tuesday night. With the flip of the coin, Mount Lebanon opens up with the first serve. This is game 1 of a best-of-5 match. We play rally scoring here. It's not like the old days with us old fogies where we played the first game to 15, and you could only score on your serve. There's a score on every serve in this match. Off the net is also playable. Katie Mahenko into the block. Mount Lebanon, well done that way. High set by Katie Mahenko and lofted over by Allie McLean. Set. That was number 3, Catherine Trout. With the attack, falls right on the floor on the Upper St. Clair side. Mount Lebanon draws first blood at 1-0. That's Shannon Holloway. Continues with the Mount Lebanon serve. Early in game number 1. Serve that probably could have been handled. That was the libero for Upper St. Clair, number 4, Christina Zanuck. Off a wrist and out of bounds. Another point to Mount Lebanon. 2-0. Still very early in the match. Continues with the serve. More conventional serve picked up nicely by Stephanie Jones to Katie Kennedy with a decent set to Katie Mahenko. Serves it into the net. Panthers off to a bit of a rocky start here. They seem to have a bit of a trouble getting going here. 4-0 for the Blue Devils so far. Knuckle serve handled by Christina Zanuck. Katie Kennedy and Stephanie Jones just shoves it over the net. Make sure the ball stays in play. Up high and getting the ball down on the St. Clair side. That's number 9, Juliana Trout. It's 2 pair of sisters on the Mount Lebanon squad. That'll be the Trouts. You heard me say that a lot tonight. And the Roper sisters. Stephanie Jones picks up the serve. Katie Kennedy with the set to Allie McLean. Nicely dug out by the libero, number 8 for Mount Lebanon. That was Stephanie Smith. The attack finds the floor again on the St. Clair side. Match starts off with a 6-0 run for the Blue Devils. See if we can get the Panthers untracked here. And there's one finally, a little bit too much on it. Shannon Holloway, number 2. A little bit too much on the serve. About 5 feet out of bounds. That brings the point to St. Clair. Gets them off the schneid at 6-1 with Katie Kennedy with the serve. A little bit of a floater. And just tapped over the net by the Blue Devils. Now to Allie McLean, who finds the libero again. They got nicely to Juliana Trout, and it lands out of bounds. She had a lot on that ball, but it lands just out of bounds. Point for St. Clair. (6-2) Blue Devils over St. Clair right now. There's a nice attack off St. Clair into the net. Sort of a partial block, partial help from the net there. Gives the Panthers now 3 points in a row to start catching up here at 6-3. Very early, game 1 of a best-of-5 match. Catherine Trout with some mustard on it off the Katie Mahenko block, and Christina Zanuck just unable to catch up with it. Finds the floor again, point and side out to the Blue Devils. Number 3, Catherine Trout now with the serve. Dug out nicely by Stephanie Jones, but a little too wide, out of bounds on the St. Clair side. Allie McLean unable to keep up with it. Dribbles off her wrist out of bounds. 8-3 now, Blue Devils. Catherine Trout again with a serve. Picked up by Christina Zanuck. To Katie Kennedy, and just shoved over the net by Katie Mahenko. Looked a little tougher than it. ended up being tougher than it looked. Allie McLean tries to just dink it over the net. Didn't quite work. She came up about a foot short into the St. Clair net. A point for the Blue Devils. 9-3 the score. Catherine Trout continues with the serve. Katie Kennedy apparently double-handed that. That's a double hit on the set by Katie Kennedy. Point again to Mount Lebanon. 10-3 now. Dying duck of a serve right there. Very difficult. Stephanie Jones picked it up nicely. Hoisted over the net by Allie McLean, and that was number 9. That'll be Juliana Trout again from the Blue Devils with a very nice attack. She's tall to start with and can really jump. Picked up that one for a tough angle attack that Alex Davin wasn't able to pick up. Her sister Catherine Trout with the serve that time. And there's a Chester. That one hit Christina Zanuck right in the chest that time. Off. Juliana Trout again. Off a St. Clair attempt to dig that out of bounds on the St. Clair side. One more point to the Blue Devils. Quite a nice run going here. Another 6-point run for them. 12-3 is the score right now. That one is out of bounds. A little too much on the serve again. Had a good thought actually, try to drop it on that back line. It's a tough one for the back line players to pick up. Substitution for the Panthers. That's Megan McLean, sophomore, coming in for Alex Davin. Allie McLean, that's her older sister now, with the serve. She's one of the 2 seniors on the team. The whole rest of the team is sophomores. Juliana Trout again just sort of lofts it over the front line into what you call the donut. That's an empty hole in the middle generally. Nobody quick enough to pick that one up, and it's another point side out for the Blue Devils. Into the game now. That's number 15, Andrea Duval, subbing for Ashley Roper. 13-4 Blue Devils. Allie McLean picks it up. Katie Kennedy with the set. Stephanie Jones. What happened here? Let's see. Up. Stephanie seems to have gone into the net. That, of course, is always a point going under or into the net. Serve continues for the Blue Devils. Knuckling kind of a serve. I'm glad I'm not out there having to return these things. Those are very difficult to pick up. Blocked by Katie Mahenko. It didn't matter. One of the Blue Devils was into the net. It ended up on the Blue Devil floor. Either way, it's a point and side out to St. Clair with number 17 sophomore Katie Mahenko picking up the serving chores at 14-5. Blue Devils in the lead. Very high up for that one, and sure enough, Katie Kennedy picks up the attack and dumps it just over the net, lands on the line. Very nicely done point for St. Clair. Not the traditional bump set attack you think of, but it worked. We'll take the point. Katie Mahenko once again with the serve. Picked up by Steph Smith, the libero, off the St. Clair block that time. Katie Kennedy picks it up to Stephanie Jones. Little dump shot over the net, didn't fool anybody. Another 3-ball push by the Blue Devils. Katie Kennedy to Megan McLean. It's an off-balance set. Not a terribly good set, but at least we kept the ball in play. Nice dig by Katie Kennedy. Good attempt. Gets over the net, but lands out of bounds on the Mount Lebanon side. Point and side out to Mount Lebanon. And this is Juliana Trout now handling the serving chores. She's a senior. Oh, comes up a little bit short. That net 7'6" or 8. That was about a 1.5 feet short. Another substitution here. This is Alex Davin, sophomore, back on the floor. Sophomore Megan McLean taking a seat on the bench, and Alex picks up the serving chores. Nice backspin serve picked up by that libero. Again, that's Stephanie Smith doing the job. Into a Caitlin McGahee blocked that time. Nicely done. Another tip block by her. Katie Kennedy, oh, a nice attempt, but she stepped over the line. That's a no-no. The umpire picked it up. That means side out. Oh, not side out, but point to the Blue. Yeah, I guess it is side out to the Blue Devils. Alex Davin had that serve for St. Clair. Colleen Cusick in the game and picking up the serving chores for the Blue Devils. That's 16-7. Knuckle serve picked up by senior Allie McLean. Katie Kennedy made a good attempt at it out of bounds, but hoisted it way over Christina Zanuck's head, out of bounds. One more point to the Blue Devils, and we'll take a break for a timeout right here, called by Upper St. Clair. We'll be back in a minute. What are our choices? It's actually a lot of help to keep them are back after a quick timeout. It's 17-7 favor the Blue Devils. Serve handled by Allie McLean. Didn't fool the Blue Devils on that one. A nice attack, but that's number 1, Alyssa Roper, with the left-handed attack that finds a corner of the St. Clair court. Mount Lebanon picks up yet another. It's 18-7 now. Games to 25. In rally scoring, a point is scored on every serve. Colleen Cusick again with a serve. Sophomore Alex Davin picks it up. Katie Kennedy to Caitlin McGahey with a powerful attack off the hand of Juliana Trout and out of bounds. That's really the first powerful, nice play we've seen out of the Panthers so far today. Maybe that's a help getting them untracked. Sophomore Stephanie Jones picks up the serve. Dug out again by Juliana Trout. She's all over the court. Shannon Holloway with the attack that time by the Blue Devils. Caitlin McGahey once again. Juliana Trout. Well blocked by Caitlin McGahey again at middle position. She's picked up nicely in there. That's the slide play. Caitlin with an angle attack. Didn't quite fool them. Back on the one ball by the Blue Devils. Katie Kennedy to Allie McLean. There's Juliana Trout again. Set to her sister Catherine. Dug out nicely by Stephanie Jones. 2 in a row by Stephanie Jones. Really working there to keep the ball off the court. Caitlin McGahey with power, but a one-handed return by the Blue Devils. Oh, dug out by Katie Kennedy. Nicely done. And hoisted over the net by Caitlin McGahey. Juliana Trout with a back row attack. She's big to start with and can jump. And has that back row attack. Falls on the court. Point for Mount Lebanon. That brings us to 19-8. Number 5, Ashley Roper in the game and picks up the serving chores for the Blue Devils. Knuckle serve. Alex Davin digs it out to Katie Kennedy. And way over Allie McLean's head. Katie had a little too much on that, and Allie needs to be about 5 inches taller. That could have helped. Well, that's point for the Blue Devils once again. Alex Davin picked up the serve, but it dribbled off her side of her arm. Stephanie Jones with the attempt couldn't quite get there, and another substitution. This is sophomore Megan McLean. Back on the floor for Alex Davin, and a substitution for the Blue Devils. Number 10 on the floor, that'll be Anna Sims, her first appearance on the floor. Looks like Lebo will be putting everybody at one point on the floor here in this match. That's their entire lineup who's played now. We're at 21-8. Mount Lebanon serving to Christina Zanuck. Katie Kennedy lofted over on the 2 ball. Doesn't fool the Blue Devils. Number 10. That was Anna Sims, who just came in the match with an attack. The structure's in. You might have seen that. It bounced off the basketball rim up there in the ceiling. That's in. The ceiling and all the structure attached to it is in play. It's not automatically out if it touches anything. Knuckle serve picked up by Megan McLean. Lofted over by Caitlin McGahey. Picked up by the Blue Devils, and a nice set. Catherine Trout jams that one down on the floor. 23-8 now. Mount Lebanon Blue Devils over the Panthers. Ashley Roper with the serve. Christina Zanuck does recover it, but a difficult set, and Caitlin McGahey shoves it into the net. That brings us to game point for match number 1. Game goes to 25, and we're at 24-8. Favor the Blue Devils. Allie McLean with the attempt off the block, and sure enough finds the floor. She got up nice and high for that one on a decent set. It'd be nice for the... We are back. This is game 2 of a best-of-5 series between the Upper St. Clair Panthers ladies volleyball and the Blue Devils of Mount Lebanon. Catherine Trout again puts a nice one over right in front of sophomore Megan McLean, giving the point and the side-out serve over to the Blue Devils of Mount Lebanon, and they begin to pick up right where they left off last match. Dug out by Stephanie Jones to Katie Kennedy. Allie McLean picked up well by the Blue Devils, and there's another 2-ball. A short set 2-ball that finds the donut just over the St. Clair front line. 2-0 now. With number 2 Shannon Holloway doing the serving chores for the Blue Devils. Low, hard hard serve, very difficult to handle, particularly when you might think that ball's headed into the net. Stephanie Jones got down under the ball, not quite enough to bring it back up to be playable. Three love Blue Devils right now, with Shannon Holloway continuing the serve. Bit of a confusion in the back line that time. That's number 7 now for the St. Clair Panthers. That's Mina Bevan in the game now for the St. Clair Panthers. Also a sophomore. You'll see this team is jammed full of sophomores. Her first attempt comes up short, and another one. That low, hard serve is extremely difficult to handle. Substitution, Stephanie Jones back in the game for Mina Bevan. Sophomore for sophomore. Another difficult serve. Might have gone out of bounds. But the libero now is Alex Corey. She made a valiant attempt at it. A one-wrister that sort of dribbled off her wrist and out of bounds. Another point for the Blue Devils, and they start off again. 6-0, just like they did in game number 1. There's Stephanie Jones who picks that up. Katie Kennedy to Allie McLean. Gets off the block, and sure enough, there's a first point for the St. Clair Panthers, just like in game 1. St. Clair got their first point at 6-1. Sophomore Katie Kennedy now starts off with the serving chores. No spin in that ball at all. I could read the void from here. Now that's a tough one. Beautiful set, and number 3, Catherine Trout, jams it down and practically dents the St. Clair side of the floor. 7-1, side out and point back to the Blue Devils, now 7-1. And Catherine Trout with a serve. Didn't look terribly difficult, but Stephanie Jones unable to handle it. Karams off her wrist and out of bounds off the back line. Point to the Blue Devils. 8-1 now the score. Blue Devils over the St. Clair Panthers. Game number 2 of a best-of-3 match. That time we get a gift. Ends up being short. Catherine Trout puts it into the net about 3 feet short in a vertical sense, I mean. Point to the Panthers, 8-2. With Allie McLean, one of the 2 seniors on the squad, picking up the serve. Juliana Trout that time with a beautiful attack. Another dent on the St. Clair side of the floor. Substitution for the Blue Devils. That's number 4, Alyssa Taylor, coming in the game. Ashley Roper takes a spot on the bench, but I expect it'll be a short one. Number 1, this is Alyssa Roper doing the serving, and another gift. Serves into the net, point, and side out back to the Panthers. Caitlin McGahey enters the game now. She subs for the libero. That was Alex Corey. Caitlin McGahey, number 11, another sophomore. On the floor, and that's Katie Mehenko with a nice topspin serve. Juliana Trout off the Caitlin McGahey block, lands on the St. Clair side. Point to the Blue Devils, and that's Alex Corey back on the floor. For those of you who don't know, that different colored jersey signals her as a libero. She's sort of a free defensive substitution. 3 serves in a row by the Blue Devils that have gone straight into the net. That's Juliana Trout. We'll take the points, but it should be nice for us to earn one here. That libero is a free defensive substitution. She is not allowed to start the game. She's not allowed to hit it overhand when the ball is higher than the net. Comes up just short that time. Point back to the Lebanon Blue Devils. 2 substitutions on the floor. The libero comes back for the Blue Devils, as does number 6, Colleen Cusick, subs for Kelly Jennison. And Colleen Cusick with the serve at 11-4. Serve that lands right in front of Alex Corey. Made a valiant dive at it, trying to pick that up and keep it in play. Was unable to do it. Yet another ace for the Blue Devils. They've had a bundle of them. Allie McLean digs that one out to Katie Kennedy. Caitlin McGahey comes up short. Could have been blocked, but it was actually in the net off the tape. About 8 inches too low. Point to the Blue Devils. 13-4, the score here in game number 2 of this best-of-5 match. Overset that time by Allie McLean. She picked it up nicely, but overset it a little too close to the net. Lebo came up and hammered that thing right down over the net without the St. Clair front line even having a shot at it. Colleen Cusick again with the serve. Stephanie Jones with the dig to Allie McLean from the back line. Gets it over to keep the ball in play. And sure enough, Caitlin McGahee blocks it back down. Stephanie Jones with the attack attempt, and there's one off the Mount Lebanon block. Finds a spot on the Mount Lebanon side. Point and side out to the Panthers. Sophomore Stephanie Jones now doing the serving chores. Be nice for us to put together a little bit of run of points. So let's see what we can put together. That was headed backwards, just a 3-ball lofted over. They didn't do much with that, but Allie McLean, let's see what she can do with it. Into the net that time. Shannon Holloway had a shot at it, but came up a little short. Walloped it into the net. Point for the St. Clair Panthers now at 14-6. Sophomore Stephanie Jones continues the serving, and just over that was a difficult serve. And the first ace of the match for the Panthers. Ended up on the floor just in front of libero 8. That's Steph Smith for the Blue Devils. Stephanie Jones again at 14-7. Another hard, low driving serve. Catherine Trout into the Caitlin McGahee block. Up way high for that. Falls on the St. Clair side. A point for the Blue Devils. Ashley Roper back on the floor. Alyssa Taylor takes a seat on the bench. And hit by Katie Kennedy in the attempt to pick that up. She was a little bit off balance. Made a nice effort to get to the ball, but being so far off balance, had a double hit. It means also an instant point for the Blue Devils. Megan McLean again picks up that serve, and to her sister Allie. Nicely up, but not quite enough on it. Alex Corey to Katie Kennedy. A little bit of a fire drill here for the Blue Devils. It's nice to catch them off balance for once. Caitlin McGahee with the attack. Oh, comes right back on the 1 ball. Nicely picked up by the Blue Devils. That was number 5, Ashley Roper, who did that. This is the longest rally of the match so far. Allie McLean hoists it back over. And number 1, Alyssa Roper, finds an empty spot on the floor just in front of back row player, sophomore Megan McLean. Gets the Blue Devils back up to a 10-point lead at 17-7 in game number 2 of this best-of-5 match. Stephanie Jones picks it up to Katie Kennedy to Allie McLean off a block. Picked up by the Blue Devils off a Caitlin McGahee block to Alex Corey. Back to Caitlin McGahee, and sure enough, finds an empty spot on the back line of the Blue Devils for a point and side out to the Panthers. Score 17-8 right now in game number 2 of this best-of-5 match. Mount Lebanon having won the first one 25-11. Spinning serve by Caitlin McGahee gets over the net but out of bounds. Point and side out back to the Blue Devils with a 10-point lead at 18-8. Nice tap over by Katie Kennedy. Didn't quite fool the Blue Devils. Katie Vahenko made a good stab at it that time. Juliana Trout to Alex Corey on the back line. Juliana Trout again picked up by Alex Corey. The Trout sisters can hit. Megan McLean hoists it over on a 3-ball. Number 1 does that again. Second time she's done that on a very sharp angle, just dribbling it over the net. And you're not really expecting that. It's like a dink shot in tennis, where you're expecting something a little harder. It comes across soft. You end up not being quite ready for it, but that makes the score 19-8 Blue Devils. Juliana Trout again, skying up very high for that one. Finding another open spot on the St. Clair side. Making it 20 now for the Blue Devils to 8 for the Panthers. Katie Vahenko shoves it over, picked up nicely by Steph Smith. Oh, dug out by Megan McLean. Katie Kennedy with the set to Allie McLean. That's an angle attack, all right, but not sharp enough angle to get it over the net and onto the Montlebo side. The Panthers are dangerously close to losing game number 2 now at 21-8. Steph Jones picks up the serve to Katie Mahenko, who, well, fans at it, I guess, is the best you can say for it. Mount Lebanon substitution. Anna Sims comes back on the floor. Juliana Trout takes a spot on the bench. 22-8 right now. Blue Devils of Mount Lebanon basically having their way with the Panthers tonight. Megan McLean makes sure it gets to the back over at least. Beautiful attack from the front line by number 10 Anna Sims. Goes about 2 feet long. Out of bounds serve and point for the Panthers at 22-9. Getting 13 points in a row isn't impossible. I haven't seen it done. Well, that's not going to do it. Katie Kennedy serves it into the net at 23-9 now. 2 more points for the Blue Devils. And that would be game number 2. Substitution, Kelsey Janison on the floor. Colleen Cusick takes a spot on the bench. Catherine Trout with a serve. She did the same thing last time. Served one into the net. And that's a quick substitution. The libero, number 8, Steph Smith, comes back in, and Catherine Trout takes a spot on the bench. Senior Allie McLean with a serve now for the Panthers. Picked up by the Blue Devils. Stephanie Jones has it to Katie Kennedy. Back to left-hander Megan McLean. Probably didn't get quite up high enough as she should have on that. She has a nice left-handed shot, but didn't get a chance to bring it down on the floor that time. 24-10, this brings us to game point in game number 2. Number 4, Alyssa Taylor on the floor for the Blue Devils now. At game point, 24, serving 10. And that was a little wide. Alyssa Roper, a little bit too much on it. Off the left side of the court. Point and side out back to the Panthers at 24-11. Sophomore Katie Mahenko now with a serve. See if we can drop in a couple of points here before the second game comes to a conclusion. Alyssa Taylor just shoves it over the net. Steph Jones picks it up, and sure enough, off the Alyssa Taylor block, finds a spot on the floor at 24, now 12 for the Panthers. They're not out of it yet. They're down, but not giving up. Katie Mahenko once again with the serve. Well done. Number 7, Kelsey Janison with that serve. Finds the back corner and ends game number 2 of this best-of-5 match. This time, the Blue Devils winning this second game 25-12. We'll be right back for game number 3. Sorry. Thanks. Stay with us. We are back at Upper St. Clair High School, continuing the match between the Panthers of Upper St. Clair, the women's volleyball match, that is, between the Panthers of Upper St. Clair and the Mount Lebanon Blue Devils. Mount Lebanon has taken the first 2 games of this best-of-5 match, 25-11 and 25-12. We'll see if the Panthers can get it moving here in game number 3 to extend this thing a little bit. Katie Kennedy with the 2-ball dump. Number 9, that's Juliana Trout, once again with the front row attack. Unable to be handled by number 6, that's sophomore Alex Corey, playing the libero position. And once again, as in the previous 2 games, the Blue Devils of Mount Lebanon start off with the first point. Oh, well, what do you know about that? Shannon Holloway with the opening serve for the Blue Devils, hoisted about 3 feet too long. Ends up beyond the back line, point and side out to the Panthers, with Katie Kennedy starting the serving for the Panthers. Sort of oozes off the right side of her arm and lands outside the boundary, and a point and side out to the Blue Devils. Alex Corey handled that when she actually got to the ball, but in an overset, actually put it right into the net. It's very difficult to dig those out and keep them playing. Catherine Trout for the Blue Devils once again with a serve. Look at that thing knuckle. Tell you, I'm glad I'm not out there trying to retrieve it. Stephanie Jones comes up with it to Alex Corey. Katie Kennedy dumps it back over to keep the ball in play. Once more to Juliana Trout off of Katie Mahenko. Block. Allie McLean had a go at it. Had a fairly nice recovery on a ball that had a sharp angle, difficult to handle. Got it over the net, but out of bounds. Point once again to the Blue Devils with Catherine Trout again on the serve. Sophomore Stephanie Jones to Katie Kennedy to Katie Mahenko for a brilliant front row attack and a short set. Well done by sophomore Katie Mahenko. As you probably heard me noticing here, you probably noticed me saying, the St. Clair Panthers are overloaded with sophomores, and they find themselves playing against teams like Mount Lebanon, full of juniors and seniors. That one, a carry called Katie Mahenko. She kind of directed that one, cupped her hand around it. Found herself on the short side of that stick with a point going back over to the Blue Devils. Number 15, Andrea Duval, a sophomore for Mount Lebanon, enters the game. Alex Corey fooled a little bit on that one. She dove for it nicely, but couldn't quite keep it in play. Makes the score now 6-2 in game number 3, favored the Blue Devils. And a gift. Alyssa Roper with the one that kind of went off the side of her hand and short into the net. Gives the point and a side out to the St. Clair Panthers. Katie Mahenko then picks up the serve. Yet another sophomore. As another. Juliana Trout got handcuffed by that one. Wasn't sure to have her hands up or hands down. Ended up keeping it in play. Set to Stephanie Jones. Lands on the Blue Devil side, out of bounds. Point once again to the Blue Devils. Now 7-3. Mount Lebanon once again picks up the serve. Juliana Trout, the elder of the two Trout sisters, with the serve. A low, hard knuckling serve. Alan McLean took a stab at it. Rolled off her wrist onto the floor. Point for the Blue Devils. 8-3 now. And Juliana Trout again with the serve. Megan McLean hits it off the ceiling. That counts again. Caitlin McGahee tries to find a spot where nobody's standing. Doesn't quite do it. There's a chester right into Allie McLean's chest from number 2 Shannon Holloway. One more point for the Blue Devils. 9-3 now in game number 3. Juliana Trout again with one of those dying knuckle serves. Stephanie Jones makes a good attempt at it. Caitlin McGahee with the place block. Never gave the Mount Lebanon front line a chance to get at that one. And sure enough, there's a point after Caitlin dumps it down in the front line. 9-4 now. Blue Devils over the Panthers. Game 3 of this best-of-5 match. First 2 games already won by the Blue Devils. Number 2, Shannon Holloway off a Caitlin McGahee St. Clair block. Down to the floor and point for the Blue Devils. Number 6, that's for the Blue Devils. Colleen Cusick now coming into the game and immediately handling the serving chores at 10-2. Favor the Blue Devils. Alex Corey keep getting play. Katie Kennedy going backwards, but Alan McLean picks it up and gets it over. Bonus for the St. Clair Panthers. That one lands just outside the end line. 29.5 feet that end line is from net to end line. That one went about 29 feet 11 inches. Just barely over the line. Here we have Stephanie Jones, sophomore, handling the serving chores. See if the Panthers can string together a couple. Very nice serve by Stephanie, and an attempt at a dump shot doesn't quite work, doesn't quite make it over the tape. Lands back on the Mount Lebanon side. That's a 4 hit and a point for the Panthers. Stephanie Jones again with a serve. Dug out of there by libero number 8 Steph Smith. Kept in play to the Panthers. Allie McLean off a block. Oh, amazing how the Blue Devils came up with that one, and a back row attack by Juliana Trout sends Alex Corey digging for it. Lands on the St. Clair side, point and side out for the Blue Devils. Ashley Roper, one of the 2 Roper sisters now handling the serve. She's the senior of the 2 Ropers. Her sister Liz is a junior. Megan McLean to Katie Kennedy, and sort of shoved over by her sister Allie McLean. Off Katie Kennedy, off Megan McLean, out of bounds. Point to the Blue Devils, and a timeout called by Jen Hughes, coach of the St. Clair Panthers, with a score 12-6. We'll be right back. We are back in game 3 of this best-of-5 match. Upper St. Clair Panthers versus the Blue Devils of Mount Lebanon. Women's varsity volleyball, and there once again is Juliana Trout. with what must be the 15th or 20th kill she's had tonight. With a good setter, somebody with that kind of height and that kind of power can pretty much have their way with you. 13-6 now, Blue Devils. Little bit wide for Ashley Roper. Comes off the sideline, side out, and point to Upper St. Clair. This brings the serve to sophomore, number 11, Caitlin McGahee. See what she can do with it. Steph Smith picks it. Oh, dug out nicely by Caitlin on that one. To Katie Mahenko. Oh, and there we go, off the wrist of senior libero Steph Smith for the Blue Devils. Point for St. Clair. Well earned that time. The power coming from Katie Mahenko on the front line. Serve back to Caitlin McGahee. Serving at 13-8 in favor of the Blue Devils. Just over. Katie Mahenko tried to place it right back. Didn't quite work. That time she had a nice top spin on it, dug out by Steph Smith of the Blue Devils. Another nice block. Oh, a little bit of confusion there. Dribbled off the block. The twin block by Katie Mahenko and Katie Kennedy. Two sophomores again for the St. Clair Panthers. Finds its way out of bounds. Point once again for the Blue Devils. Now 14-8. With junior Shannon Holloway now serving chores for the Blue Devils. Katie Kennedy with a back row attack by sophomore number 5, Mina Beban, on the floor now for the Panthers. Another ace. I wish I'd been keeping track of these things. Shannon Holloway again goes off the arms of libero Alex Corey. 17-8 now for the Panthers. Spinning serve, that one I can see from here. Left turning, counterclockwise spin, and Katie Mahenko dumps it over. And there's Juliana Trout again, way up high over the front line and lands in front of libero Alex Corey. 10-point lead again for the Blue Devils at 18-8. Game number 3 of this best-of-5 match. The Blue Devils take this one, and it is over for the night. Alex Corey digs it out and hoists it back over. Juliana Trout that time with the attempt to just dump it over the net. Everybody was expecting her to drive it down to the floor. Ends up being short, puts it into the net. Point and side out to the Panthers. Sophomore Katie Kennedy with the serve. Juliana Trout digs it out. And has a chance to dump it back over. Katie Kennedy over to Allie McLean, and sure enough, off the Mount Lebanon block, finds a spot on the floor. Katie Kennedy again with the serve. Off the antenna, point to St. Clair.
No, it's back at the regular time, 7:30.
19-11 Blue Devils right now with Catherine Trout picking up the serving chores. Top spin serve dug out by Alex Corey, but just a bit wide. It's one of those you got to decide where you're going to put it. That when you're diving down on the floor like that, sometimes you're lucky enough just to have it up in the air. Should come back to our own side, but not that time. And there's a dying quail right there, a floater. You could read the insignia on the ball there. It ends up about 3 feet long by Catherine Trout. Point and side out to the Panthers. Alex Davin, number 1, substitutes for Allie McLean and handles the serving chores for the St. Clair Panthers. 20-12, game number 3 of this best-of-5 match. Alex Davin floats one over. Handled nicely by the Blue Devils, and that power from Juliana Trout again. nearly does some damage to sophomore Alex Davin. 21-12 now. 9-point lead for the Blue Devils. Trying to finish off the Panthers here in short order. We'll see if that comes to pass or not. Alyssa Roper with the serve. Alex Corey handles it. Katie Mahenko gets up high off the Katie Kennedy set. Drives one down on the Mount Lebanon side. Makes it 21-13. Panthers back within 8. Katie Mahenko, sophomore, now with the serve. That's Kelsey Janison into the Caitlin McGahee block. Falls on the St. Clair side. 22-13 now. Colleen Cusick serving now for the Blue Devils. Alex Corey picks it up in there. Lost it to our setter, Katie Kennedy. Allie McLean off the block. Picked up by the Blue Devils, and a back row attack by Juliana Trout falls short into the net. Point for the Panthers at 22-14, and Mina Beban picks up the serve now. Left-handed serve from Mina. Anna Sims hoists it over for the Blue Devils, but that time it gets up and Steph Jones jams it down off a nice set, and the Panthers are back within 7 in game number 3 here at 22-15. Mina once again with the serve, left-handed serve, picked up by the Blue Devils. Unable to come up with it that time, though. I think that was number 7, Kelsey. Floating knuckle serve, a low driving knuckle serve. Alex Davin has a tough time picking up, and this brings us right now to match point at 24-15. One more for the Blue Devils, and this is history. Another floating serve. Alex Davin picks it. Katie Kennedy to Caitlin McGahee. Hoisted. Really drives it down to the left side of the Blue Devils court, off a wrist, out of bounds, and there's still life on the St. Clair side. Substitution now. Allie McLean, senior, back on the floor for number 1 sophomore Alex Davin. Stephanie Jones with a twisting serve. Juliana Trout with the attack from the back line. Alex Corey handles that one. Caitlin McGahee again up high, off of Juliana Trout's hands and out of bounds. 2 nice points in a row by sophomore Caitlin McGahee. Stephanie Jones gets one more attempt at it. See if we can put together a bit of a run here. Sure enough, one more for the Panthers. Dribbles off the net. Finds us wide on empty spot on the Mount Lebanon side of the floor. Is 24-18 now. Still, next point for Mount Lebanon wins the match. And there it is. The beautiful set to Catherine Trout closes out the match with a little bit of